Now, if you happen to serve in the armed forces of any country, you know what I mean when I say you have to deal with hierarchy that's so rigid that you wonder if the people up at the top are even living in the same world as you do. And yes, most people don't have the privilege of, choosing not to serve in the army. And in my country, we have to serve for 2 years. And if you want to leave it behind, you either have to be 40 years old or relinquish your citizenship, which is two rather long shot options if you want to talk about it like this. Which brings me to my video at hand. Army Lieutenant Colonel destroys military career berating enlisted. And there's a video proof of it. And the YouTube channel in question is Nikki MGTV. So yeah, let's see what they are talking about in this case. Seems like the lieutenant colonel just berated some first sergeant in this video after a PT test or something like that. So yeah.
Get that out of my face.
Hey, listen, man, you that, man.
He tells her to get off the road. I mean, it is a lawful order. I would just get off the road.
I hope he's removed from command immediately because that's not how you talk to a subordinate.
Like, there's something called unbecoming of an officer, and people see what they don't want to see.
I don't think I have seen a hot button divisive video such as this in several months, if not maybe the last year, as we are seeing what appears or what is alleged from what people are reporting, a lieutenant colonel, an 05 equivalent for you guys in other branches, that had essentially impeded on a fitness test of some kind, and this viral clip went off the rails. Now, this comes out of Fort Bliss, Texas, and they're claiming that this is out of the 11th Air Defense Artillery Brigade. Now, because of this video, it appears that there are so many sides to this, and a lot of people are wondering if, do we have the full context or do we not? We're going to talk about all of that in this video. But let's get to the 20-second clip here that's gotten everybody's panties in a bunch, that everybody is saying that we may or may not have the full information.
The caption reads, for those who are listening to this video, battalion commander had to be held back to keep him from putting his hands on a female who just finished her PT test. So yeah, that's the caption on top. I don't know if they meant dragging her off the road or inappropriate touching in this context, but let's see what the video has to say at this point. Let's see what he's reacting. How is he reacting? Give me a minute.
Hey, listen, man, you that, man. Don't put your goddamn hands on me.
So yeah, the battalion commander did knock someone tried to calm him down, and then he just elbowed that guy somehow. I mean, you just look at the video.
Get off the goddamn road.
Sir, we're running an AFT. If you
That's right, but hey, you're running an AFT, you're impeding the way. Alright? Geronimo. You act like a fucking sergeant first class. You act like a goddamn private. I told you to get off the fucking road. You're looking at me.
So yeah, I've never seen a lieutenant colonel act in this fashion before, but as everyone's doing, I'm going to do my own breakdown as well. We know we do not see the buildup to how they are leaning towards each other. Now, I want to convey something that essentially, if you are running a fitness test, it's known that the runners own the road. If you're on a base, this is not like civilian world where it's like, hey, you give 3 feet and just kind of cruise by. It is known with formations and things like that that happen on military bases. There is going to be pedestrian or running traffic here, especially as it's alleged here from several comments that this area of the base is outlined for the Army fitness test specifically, and it would be expected that people would be running on this path. I have doubts that a sergeant first class that is sitting there leaning forward telling this colonel or lieutenant colonel, get out of my face, was unprompted to some degree, right? You have to look at it. He's higher ranking, he's bigger, he's a male. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't think many sergeant first classes that would know that this is a lieutenant colonel, obviously, and he's presenting as that, would try and do this. There has to be something for her to be like, you need to back up. And on top of that, you're already seeing one person in front of the lieutenant colonel and one person holding her back as well, because she's about to be a little pit bull.
Hey, listen, man, you that, man. Don't put your goddamn hands on me.
Now, that second clip I played here is about him showing his like shrugging of lifting his elbow against his fellow soldier, which obviously was trying to have good intentions to break up this argument, break up the disagreement here, and essentially make sure it didn't go any further. Now, he did nothing that was aggressive. Touching somebody on the back of the elbow is actually, what I've learned in professional settings, is actually the most appropriate way that you could, if you needed to physically get, contact with somebody, to get their attention. It's the most non-aggressive way. So for him to kind of like position in front of the lieutenant colonel and the girl, touch his elbow like, hey, like, I'm trying to get your attention over here. Like, let's dismiss this. Let's go over the other way and call it a day. I'm like, I want to commend that soldier as well during this incident, because
Yeah, let's just say that ironically, the biggest victims here are actually the two soldiers trying to break up the argument. Now they have to deal with a base commander and a PT test candidate arguing with one another. And the two soldiers are just trying to make sure that the PT test is not obstructed because of the actions of those two individuals in the video. So yeah, they are the biggest victims here in a way.
I'm like, dude, a lot of people are just going to be bystanders. We're seeing that here. People are filming it, whatever else, and that's where we're at with that. But where I see this fizzle out in this interaction is where I'm kind of like, wow, is this really where we're going with how we're seeing both sides play out with this? I'm like, it's nuts.
Get off the goddamn road.
Sir, we're running the AFT. If you can
That's
move
right, but
forward-
hey, you're running the AFT, you're impeding the way. All right? Geronimo.
Sergeant first class, sir.
No, you ain't acting like a fucking sergeant first class.
I act
You act
exactly
like a
what I
goddamn
said.
private. I told you to get off the fucking road. You're looking at me.
So I would say I've never seen professionally a lieutenant colonel ever tell or reprimand somebody in this regard or fashion in public. And that goes even with the reprimanding of the other guy of doing the elbow thing. Like, we've all known, when you go to boot camp, you raise your hand any little bit, they say, we're going to take that as a threat. So somebody doing this, I don't know. I doubt that's a legal interpretation. Some other SEAL lawyer is going to have to come out of the woodwork and maybe show something of that. I'd love Cody Harnish. He talks about UCMJ and stuff like this. I don't know if that could be seen as threatening or not. Now, in this circumstance, to reprimand this person, say they're acting like a private, I'm like, to talk down to a sergeant first class is nuts. There should have been disengaged. Let me get your name. We will talk offline after. And by the way, this is just a PT test, right? Now, it is also known that when there are people that are running across the line, that area that you are crossing the line for a fitness test is like kind of a catch-all. You go through, you blast through, and then you have several options. You're going to go out and kind of throw up, do whatever else. You're going to go out, maybe stop your watch. You're going to go walk past further for a cool down, but everyone is always instructed to clear the area. Now, why people are alleging this lieutenant colonel could be driving his car through, I'm like, that would be impeding the conducting of the fitness test, which most people would try and avoid, because this is obviously for time, promotions, stuff like that. That is kind of important. Now, looking at that, I'm going to tell you guys at the same aspect here of, he's telling her to get out of the road. Is that a big deal? No, I don't know what transpired before this, but I think a lot of people are really hung up on the fact of like, you had this shoulder shrug thing. You're also belittling.
Yeah, let's just say if I can look back at the clip, the base commander himself is not exactly off the road. Maybe the test only takes place on, half the road, but still, if you're gonna tell someone to get off the road, at minimum walk towards the grass area. Don't just stand on the road and then give commands like that, right? At minimum, make your way towards the grass patch next to the road, right?
This person, like, what was so egregious by the sergeant first class that could have warranted this? Is there anything that could have allowed that? And no one is coming out of the woodwork. We've seen it on the public opinion court here. No one's come out to say that this sergeant first class is in trouble or did anything in regards to laying their hands on the lieutenant colonel or anything of that such, and I'm sure more will come out from that. Now, obviously, this has gotten many of the people on social media up in arms, including the comments of Latoya Green, Get Right or Get Fit, has covered this. Her video has blown up. It has like 43,000 likes and a bunch of other stuff. So this is making top news across social media. And people have some kind of nasty words against this lieutenant colonel as they believe he should be removed from command. For example, this For example, She Fit, though, says, how unbecoming of a commissioned officer in the United States Army, and that has 6,000 likes. Braden Boo says, imagine what he does when there are no cameras. Let's see if any leaders hold him accountable. And then 6'9" says here, all that rank means nothing outside of those gates. Now, I do want to share some of the reactions and thoughts of several of the social media platforms that do kind of have military influencers on them to kind of show their thoughts as well, as they are coming out to back up the Sergeant First Class and what's kind of unfolded here, such as Viva La Vargas, where he had to say this about this Lieutenant Colonel.
I'm usually not too opinionated here, but I'll say this. I hope he's removed from command immediately because that's not how you talk to a subordinate. And I'm not trying to make it about gender here, but you definitely don't advance on a woman as a full-grown man in a physical manner like you're gonna fight them. Brother, what are you doing? I mean, sir, what are you doing? If this gets investigated and he's still in command, shame on everyone above him at Fort Bliss. Because they're essentially saying that they tolerate that and that's okay for a lieutenant colonel to treat a person like that. To which I would then disagree. If you're that Sergeant First Class, I'd like to send you some merch. Please get a hold of me. Or if you know her, please get me in touch with her. You know what? Even if you're that lieutenant colonel, I'll send you some merch too. Let me know what you think down in the comments and follow me, you silly goose.
I typically would not bring gender into this, as I don't think that usually should matter at all, because I mean, we're all wearing the same camouflage uniform. We are all presenting. We are all a military member, and these are people in positions of authority where they are expected. Now, I'll be granted, the Sergeant First Class is also expected to have the same professionalism. I love how, like, there is this idea that privates should be less professional, or it's expected to be less professional than an O5. I'd say across the board.
Yeah, when it comes to professionalism, sure, all should be treated with some level of respect. When it comes to expectations, well, let's just say privates should have humility to learn about how the army operates. Sergeants should have humility to learn about the people under their care. Officers should have humility to learn about how things get done, so that they can plan operations that are sensible and achievable. Sure, everyone in the army should have some humility, but for completely different reasons. Now, same thing here. Everyone in the army should be professional. A private should do everything to the best of his or her abilities. A sergeant should not knowingly put himself, or in this case herself, and her squad in a dangerous situation. A lieutenant colonel should have better control of his emotions so he doesn't make bad decisions, such as the one you see in this clip. I mean, the same value can be translated into different things altogether. There's a jet flying over my house, god damn it.
Professionalism is something that is across every rank, and this is just part of pure good order and discipline that needs to be held across the board, and that is why I think this video has created such virality to it. Now, obviously, there are things we do or do not know that are very important to this video. We only know leading up to that point, and I'm going to show you guys Barry Bull, retired Sergeant Major, that kind of conveys some of those ideas as well, and kind of showing both sides of the coin.
Okay, so here's what I don't know. I don't know if this is the lieutenant colonel, this is the Sergeant First Class. I don't know which unit is like running the AFT coming across the finish line. And everybody is super pissed about this, what this lieutenant colonel did. In the Marine Corps, if you're running a PFT, the run portion of your fitness test, and you're coming across the finish line, you have the right of way. I don't care what other units are out there. I don't care if there's retirees, civilians, COs from other units. Does not matter. Everybody knows that. You give the service members running their fitness test the right of way. So whoever that applies to in this situation has the right of way. I just don't know who it is. If it's him and his unit's coming across the finish line, and let's say their unit hasn't started, well, then I would say she's wrong. But let's say it's her unit running it, and he's just out as a CO or whatever on some type of PT run individually, because I didn't see him with a unit at all, well, then I would say he's wrong. And he should know better because they're running a fitness. But for her, let's say it was her unit running the AFT or whatever it is, the fitness test, and he tells her to get off the road. I mean, it is a lawful order. I would just get off the road. I would not sit there and argue. And it looks to me like that could be where this all got started. Now, for him, I'm wondering, where is his sergeant major at? He's a lieutenant colonel. Where's your sergeant major? Why are you getting in the ass of a sergeant first class? Also, I don't think it's right to say that she's acting like a private in front of everybody. So, if you want my honest opinion, I think they're both wrong no matter what. If her unit hadn't started the fitness test yet and his is already running it and he told her to get off the road and she argued and all that shit, she's super wrong. But if it was her unit and he's just on a PT run and all that, and then he's yelling at her and she's trying to monitor the test, like she's probably the training chief, then I would say he's even more wrong. But at the end of the day,
Yeah, can we at least acknowledge that the biggest victims here are the other soldiers here who are trying to complete their PT test and trying to ensure that the PT test environment is unobstructed while these two are arguing on the road? Like, at least get on the grass patch and then argue there, away from all the other soldiers. They don't need to be dragged into your arguments, alright? Keep them out of it.
if this happens, don't argue with a lieutenant colonel, man. Just follow the order. It was a lawful order, and you're gonna and of course it gets videotaped, and here we are. So I bet you there's an investigation between two different units going on right now. You guys need to keep control of yourself. If I was him, I would have never reacted like that. However, if I was her, I would have never reacted like that either. You guys drop a comment. Let me know what you think.
So he brings up a very valid point in his kind of analysis and critique of what's going on here. And that is because what does the Army instruction outline of like being the roadway or how that stuff kind of works? I mean, I kind of think that they try and allow common sense to be the guiding factor of situations like this, of like how to clear the area and how to make sure people are safe. And that's really what this comes down to, is safety of soldiers, service members in general, whatever fitness test you are doing for your command unit, whatever. And that is the most important thing that's here. Now, obviously, I think both people have the right intent, at least I'm believing that they want the same things. It's how you go about it that can kind of change those things as well, and kind of how those are conducted. Now, I am going to lay out some things for you that there is further information that Lt.Col Green, the original poster of this video, had kind of showed. There is a lot more coming from this issue as we're seeing this Lieutenant Colonel is actually maybe in some hot water.
I'm gonna speak on this one time and one time only, because I have done my 12-week PTSD program through the VA, which is why I don't talk about military. I don't do military topics. I stay away from it, but I'm gonna talk about this. So let's say this. You say you need more context. What more context do you need? I don't know anybody who just records their entire PT test. Nobody does that. Obviously, something happened. Someone saw this escalating, and then they took their phone out and pressed record. Now, mind you, the young lady in the video had just finished running. What do you do when you finish running on the PT test? Some people throw up. Some people walk with their hands on their head, their hands on their hips. Some people stop their watches. Like, everybody does something different. The road is closed specifically for this thing, which is PT test and people running. Okay? The man says, get out of the road or whatever. Now, at the beginning of the video, both people are being held back. I agree. Unprofessional on both parts. I 100% agree. But after they get separated and he pushes the other guy's elbows, get the F off of me, now she's putting her stuff on. He says Geronimo, so he calls her last name, which is obviously on the back of her shirt, and still proceeds to stand in the middle of the road that he wanted her to get off of and antagonize her. So what are we talking about? Like, there's something called unbecoming of an officer, and people see what they don't want to see. Now, my opinion could be biased. It is biased. I understand. As someone, like, do a poll. Ask any woman who's been in a leadership position, ask them how many times they have almost been physically, or ask them if they have been almost physically assaulted by a man. Ask them, and you will be surprised. And they do it, and and a lot of them get away with it. And she just happened to have, somebody just happened to pick up the phone and record this particular situation. And as someone that has happened to several times during my military career, I get it. And I wish I would have been wearing a GoPro or something, but it just is what it is. So bottom line is, there are a lot of people who are in leadership positions who don't have any emotional intelligence. That's it. That's the point. And here's your update.
Now, let's just say that if you want to get a certain rank or position in the army, all you need to do is just qualify and then justify why you're the best person for the job among the already qualified. And surprisingly, in order to get disqualified, you need to be convicted for some really heinous crimes. And then even after that, you don't need to go through for, even if you like don't get disqualified, even after you get convicted for those really heinous crimes, you don't need to go through some, for example, anger management classes as a condition to hold on to your job. You know, they fail to weed out some pretty horrifying people when it comes to the army. In fact, they probably don't see the need to weed out some horrifying people in the army, because, you know, they're preparing for war in a way. And let's just say war is pretty horrifying, so that becomes normalized to them. to put it mildly. So yeah, you'll meet some pretty horrifying people when you join the army of any country. Hopefully, I mean they'll really mess up your day if you met them.
The lieutenant colonel in the video, or colonel, whatever he is now, is suspended and he is under investigation. So that's my 2 cents. I'm not speaking on it anymore. Hope this helps. Y'all be blessed. Next slide.
Yeah, so he is under investigation. Looks like he's been removed for right now, from what she's saying. And, I don't know if anything's going to come from this. I really don't, because really, I do question if people in that unit would have issues with having a leader, because this is such a divisive topic. Would this impede on the ability of this lieutenant colonel to lead soldiers and not have any issues with good order, discipline, respect towards him, or kind of how they value him or see him as a leader? And I'm not trying to portray that for you guys to have that, but I'm like, it is different watching a video versus maybe somebody in real life. We don't know all those aspects of it. And I'm sure the Army will do what they have to do to kind of figure this stuff out. But I do also want to say, I don't want any service member to sit here and think that they have to feel they are in fear of physical harm from another service member. The whole point of the way we operate is so rank and respect and all these good order and discipline things are supposed to be kind of like what keep us kosher. But
Let's just say that's not exactly the job of the army. Their job is to destroy anyone that tries to harm their nation and their citizens, which might in turn make them believe that everything needs to be quote unquote destroyed. I mean, you see this in the army boot camp, right? They try to destroy the civilian in you, the bad habits from your civilian life, and then rebuild you back up to become a soldier, right? Which means that they try to destroy the old you and then try to build you up into something new, right? And when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So they might come to the conclusion that they need to destroy this young soldier's bad idea, which sometimes may actually do more harm than good depending on the context. So yeah, that's their that's how they see things. Their job is to destroy anyone that tries to do harm to their nation. So what that ends up doing is that they might end up doing harm, not doing harm. They might destroy the thing they might destroy another soldier accidentally, of course. Maybe that's not their intention, but then again, they're gonna end up destroying a lot of things if their mode of operation is destroying stuff. All right.
sometimes that can kind of get out of line as people are people and emotions fly, and that's what we're seeing right here. But I'd love to know what you guys think about this Lieutenant Colonel. Do you think that charges such as conduct unbecoming of an officer, or one of these things that people are putting online as like what they would like to see happen to them, do you think any of those are applicable in situation? Or if you're a C lawyer or a JAG, let me know, because I think that's really interesting on the interpretation of the law, because I think that's very important in situations like this. But if you guys like what I have here, check out that video.
Yeah, personally, I think the two soldiers need to go in front of their units together in a room and apologize to all the soldiers there. Like, even if you believe that they violated some UCMJ laws, ultimately their actions have the potential to obstruct the conduct of the PT test. And I believe most soldiers there are just trying to complete that test which they have trained so hard for in their time in the army. Alright? If I'm a soldier during the PT test and I have to avoid them because they were obstructing the road, I mean, I'll be pissed, right? No matter what happens, the actions of those two soldiers have made the PT test a more unpleasant experience than it already is. And let's just say that's all I have to say. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.